it's a good idea when generating the plant schedule, I've generated it here, to position it well away from your design. Here's my design down here. The reason for that is that quite often you want to play with the display of that plant schedule on a sheet. So if we go to an A2 sheet in landscape format, I've labelled it 1 to 100 at the moment because I want to use it to discuss scale. As it stands at the moment, there is no scale associated with this floating viewport. But I digress and I'll return to that in a moment. What I've done here on this sheet is to create two floating viewports. One that will hold the plant schedule. So if I select the floating viewport and double click, you can see that I have a magenta box around the plant schedule, nice and tight. Now display it on the layout, right click to deactivate it, and there, if we zoom in now, the text height there and the text height in the actual drawing look to be reasonably well matched. But if you wanted to increase the size of text there and make it perhaps a little more readable, pick the viewport, drag it out and make it larger, and then double click in there and make this a little tighter, and then display that on the deactivate viewport. Now as we come in here, pretty clearly our text height matches reasonably well. So what I'm doing here is I have a rectangle, which I should be able to select now, a rectangle in layout space. The designer's logo is also in layout space. The frame holding the schedules in layout space, and the frame holding the design is in layout space. But if we return to the model and zoom extents, there's our design, full size, and our schedule. So if I return to the display, I mentioned that at the moment the scale inside that viewport is not fixed. If I select the floating viewport, come over here and look in the properties box, your view scale is 83.912, clearly not a fixed scale. We don't, in my view, don't need a fixed scale in all presentations. Your client, if they need, can scale off the drawing because you've included a scale bar here, and that perhaps should be labelled meters, but it's fairly obvious that it is a metre scale. So if you look at that, the swimming pool is about 7 metres or so in width. Don't forget, if you want to take accurate measurements, it's back to the model, zoom in on the area of interest and say how wide is it from there to there. Well, it's in fact 5 metres wide. Let's return again here. So if I needed a fixed scale and I wanted to put some text in here labelling that view a fixed scale, I would click on the frame and type a value of 100 and set that as a fixed scale. And now it is showing the scale of 1 to 100, and you could label it as such. But of course you do lose a little magnification, and maybe your clients would prefer a larger view in that sheet. You can also set fixed scale via the modify, set fixed scale, pick a viewport, and then hit the enter key. Indicate that in this case I'm working in the metric environment, and I could type 1, let's type 1 to 50. It won't fit, but you'll get the idea, and I'll hit 1 to 50, and let's unselect all. So we now have a 1 to 50 scale, a fixed 1 to 50 scale in that zone. I could do some adjustment if I wanted. I can't show the whole design, but I can certainly show a large part of it and display it on the viewport. But now we're going to run out of display it on the layout, deactivate it, select it, and move it across. And you can see we're going to run into the plant schedule layout on the right hand side. But when you see you can display any part of the drawing at any magnification you want. And on any size piece of paper. It's for you to organise that.